Okay, tried to make a video about this before. Didn't want to take. That's the universe telling me. I gotta make a different one. Same topic, different way. So, the topic I'm bringing up, this is for all the people that have ever walked on eggshells, for anyone in their life. Now, why I bring this up is because I do talk about a lot of spiritual stuff. And what you don't recognize maybe is that the spirit or who we are within all has to do with overcoming trauma, overcoming the pain, the sorrow, the things that stop us from our greatness, the things that stop us from believing in ourselves. And some of these things, like walking on eggshells, those landmines for other people, is a way of training to teach us our own self-worth. Now, I'm bringing this up because as someone who's gone through different types of trauma, I know that every time I got over them or I surpassed them, things would blossom, things would flourish, things would change in tremendous ways in the soul that I didn't understand at the time that I was facing them. I have gone through all forms of walking on eggshells. This is a form of abuse that people don't like to say is abuse, but technically it is, because you are changing, modifying who you are for a persons. And what's happening is that it's an actual guttural feeling. You have a visceral, guttural, bodily feeling when you're around these people. Every time you morph, every time you change, just to avoid the landmines, just to avoid the eggshells, you don't want the person that you're doing it for to go off. You don't want them to come at you, nag you, shoot negative context at you. You don't want to feel bad. You don't want to be made to feel small. So you try to change, modify, be someone else, act a different way. Now, there is a form of abuse through all of this that we may not understand is taking place. It's mental, social, and it can be physical. Now, the thing is that with all forms of it, it can come from children, it can come from a loved one, it can come from parents, it can come from friends, supposed friends, it can come from partners. And intrinsically, what's happening is eggshell training is basically, you may not see it as that, because I know for myself, it took a lot of hindsight. It took a lot of shadow work. People don't know what that word shadow work is, but it's really looking at the reason why you were in those situations in the first place. A lot of us feel like we are put in these situations. We are the victims of these situations. But I also went through that. I also thought that I was being victimized when I was going through it. And it took a lot of time after the fact to realize that that was not the case. The true case is that the first thing we all must understand is that if you are walking on eggshells for anybody, it's because they don't like you. You, the real you. They have some type of problem with who you are reflecting back to them. They pinpoint you, they target you because something about you makes them see something that they don't like in themselves. So then they in turn reflect back at you all the things that they don't like about you. Now, what I will tell you is that if you are going through this, you are suffering through something that is kind of a oxymoron. And what an oxymoron is that actually what you're trying to get away from, which is the pain or the smallness, or just like not dealing with the trauma or not dealing with the problem, is actually up against your own self-worth. Now, what I will say for any form of this type of abuse, it doesn't matter if it's any of the ones I mentioned, you usually are being triggered by things that you hold really precious to yourself. They are things like, for example, if someone is negatively picking on you, it'll be for topics that you believe in your heart of hearts you are great at. So I'm going to use my own examples to give you examples. I had a partner that used to do this, and I didn't know at the time, right, what was really taking place. Had someone told me what was taking place, I might have got out of it sooner. Some of us walk on eggshells for a year, 2 years, a lifetime sometimes. Sometimes we never get out of it. And if someone had shown me what was really taking place, I might have had a chance of getting out. And that's why I'm making this video. Because to be with your higher self, to be part of your real soulscape, how can you do it if you're under someone's thumb? And when you're walking on eggshells, you're under someone's thumb because you're moving, you're thwarting, You're not going there, not going here, not talking about this, not talking about that, because you're trying to escape the pain and you're trying to find ease. Humans do not like to be in pain. We don't go out looking for fights. We don't try to bring trauma to ourselves. So our defense mechanisms rise up. We tend to try to thwart it. We try to get away from it. We try to pacify what's really taking place. And we feel like that's the only option, pacification. Now, what I mean by them using what's most important to you, what's most precious to you, is that it doesn't matter which version we're talking about. It could be the abuser physically. It could be the mental abuser. It could be the social abuser. It could be the emotional abuser. They're all different, but they all have the same rubric. And the rubric tends to be that they will pick on you, nag you for something that is important to you, to your self-worth, or at least what you think it is at that time. So I'll use an example. One example I have is a partner I had used to nag me for how I cooked, how I cleaned, my work ethic, and how I spent my money. Okay. Now the thing is because I was a busy worker. I like to be a good worker. I like to be someone who is dependable in a crisis. I was a person that if there was a time crunch or a deadline, I would make things happen at work. I was somebody reliable, dependable. I always tried to, move forward in my positions. And when this person would say like, "Oh, you're a slacker. Your job's easy. You don't know what it's like to really work." I noticed when they would say things like that, or when they would criticize my cooking, or when they would, swipe the drawers and be like, "There's dust here. Is this how you keep your house? You're dirty. You don't take care of yourself." Now, here's the thing. I myself, I'm somewhat of a neat freak. I would like my house kept in order. And the thing is that when this person would pick on one thing that I would then define as the amalgamation of my worth as a home carer, I would go up in defense. I'd be like, "What are you talking about? I cleaned this house yesterday. This house is spotless. Oh, you found some dust. What's the big deal?" I would be like defending. That is what we do when we are in an eggshell mode, in avoiding the potholes mode, in avoiding the landmines, so to speak. And the thing is what you have to recognize with any of these people, and what I mean by social, right? I said social abuser. These are people that behind closed doors in person to person would never say anything back. They're the type of person that waits till you're in a big group and then points out a flaw, and then points out a misstep you made, and tries to embarrass you, tries to scapegoat you, tries to throw you under the bus. But it has to be in front of a group of people so that you look bad. Those persons are also part of this. Then there's the mental abusers. There's people that know your little tweaks, the things that really irk you in your mind. Like, let's say, for example, you're somebody who's a little more cautious. This person will be like, "Oh, you're such a loser because you never take chances. You're always so worried everything is going to fall apart. Look at you. You're so weak." They say things that irk you because in your mind and in yourself and in your being, mean a lot to you. And ergo, they attack what is important to you, what you think your self-worth is at that time. And why I say it's an oxymoron, and this is the biggest test, soul test, self-test, and real clarity moment that I did not see as someone who suffered in this for many years from different people. Okay, I'm talking in my family, my old friend group, with partners, was that I was always on defense because I truly felt like I was these things. But the oxymoron is that if you should be all these things, then none of these things would trigger you. There is a sense of denial that someone is living in when they're walking on eggshells. Okay? So I also had an older partner who was actually physically abusive. And this person used to, I was enemy number one. And the thing was because what I didn't realize was that when they would get violent with me, they would say that it had to do with something to do with my sexual prowess. They would always say like, "Oh, you were talking to that guy. I saw you talking to that guy. You're cheating on me." They'd accuse me of 50 million things that I wasn't doing, that you may not be doing. And if you're a man or woman that's ever been with someone vicious like this, you know exactly what I'm saying. Because realistically, again, it's precious to you. If you're somebody who isn't a cheater, if you're somebody who doesn't sleep around, it's like you're always on defense. You're like, I didn't do that. I didn't talk to them. I didn't do this. What are you talking about? And this person used to get violent with me. This person used to push me around. I remember one time at a club when I was really young, he actually tried to lay hands on me in public. Okay. Now, suffices to say, I was younger, but there are people, it doesn't matter what age you are. These abusers will use and target things that are important to your self-worth. This is a self-worth test. Now, if you say to yourself, like I had to, was that I always kept trying to prove to this person I wasn't a cheater. I always kept trying to prove to this person that I was a good person. I was trying to prove that I wasn't doing what they said. But what I didn't realize, like most of us that walk on eggshells, is that whatever they're accusing you of is usually the things that you hold dear, that you will defend, and they know that you'll stay in the cycle of defense. And that's where they want to keep you, because that's what keeps you walking on eggshells. You'll stop going to places. You'll stop talking to certain friends. You won't show your friends what's going on with you because you're worried that they're going to judge you. There's so many levels and layers to what someone that is abusing you in any form or fashion will do to keep you small, in their grips, and under their thumb. So when you are in this position of walking on eggshells, this is a clear-cut self-test and testament to you. Because why you're physically feeling this inside is because the real you, the higher you, okay, the ultimate you, knows that something is not right. And the thing is because you're so intertwined with defending yourself, you cannot see the forest for the trees. Now, the thing is that you think you're defending your self-worth. But really, if you had true self-worth, you would not even be dealing with the situation you have. Because if you truly felt like you were a good homemaker, if you truly thought you were a good person, if you truly thought that you were a loyal person, if you truly thought all of the things that you're being accused of were really who you were, then you wouldn't have to defend who you are. And that's the real crux. That's the real trick. You wouldn't need to defend who you are because you would know who you are. Believing in who you are is one thing. Knowing who you are is a different thing. If you know that you're a good homemaker, what they say doesn't matter. If you know that you're a loyal person, what they say doesn't matter. And what you'll come to know is that when you step into that knowledge of who you truly are, if you literally sit back and say to yourself, no, I do keep a good home. No, I am a loyal person. No, I am a good person that does good things. No, I'm a good worker and I work hard. If all the things that they're picking on you for are not true and you truly believe them and know it, then the table turns around. You have now shown them that you have stepped into your own awareness of knowledge. And when you step into your own awareness of knowledge of who you truly are, you actually start to love yourself. And when you love yourself, you start to realize, I don't have time for people that don't love me. And when you say to yourself, I don't have time for people that don't love me, you'll notice that you start to get clarity on the real situation. It's funny because all the things you're defending yourself for, right, are really the things that you're slightly in denial about because you haven't stepped into your worth yet. And that's why I say sometimes these characters that come into your life are designed to teach you that very thing. Because once you overcome them, you will know more of who you are, you will have knowledge of who you are, and you'll be more confident in who you are. So in a sense, these characters are designed and placed in your life to teach you who you are. And once you realize it, and once you take hold of it, you don't walk on eggshells anymore. You start to say things to yourself like, I don't need this person in my life. I can find better. And what's funny is that should you turn that table, then becomes the fun part. Because what you'll realize is the abuser is actually picking on you because you are doing something or showcasing something to them that they lack. So let's say, for example, the person that you're with, or the child that does this to you, or the partner that does this to you, or the parent or the friend that does this to you, you were to turn around and say to them, so why are you with me? Why are we friends? Why are you my partner? Why am I even coming to see you? That person would kind of go into a stand and stalemate. They would say to themselves and have to reflect to themselves the answer to that question. They would have to come to realization that should they love themselves? Should they like themselves? That they shouldn't be with you. Because someone who takes the time to abuse you this often, right, only does it because they gain something from it. And what did they gain? You might actually have a criteria that is better than them, that they try to siphon and make small so that they can be on top of you to make themselves feel better. And this even works for the physical abusers. Because realistically, for example, with my partner, he was not the best worker. He didn't clean or cook, and he wasn't great with money. So all the things that he would come at me for to get me on the defense all the time, to make me feel smaller, less than, was a way for him to realize that that was truly what he didn't like about himself inside. The funny thing is, when you're dealing with this, is that you're battling the internal. Like inside of yourself, you're like, no, I'm defending because this is who I am. I am a good person. I am a good homemaker. I am this. That's the inner you inside that is fighting to come out. And what's happening is they, as the abuser, are the external that's showing you a reflection of what you're in denial of. Because the fact that you're still fighting it, the fact that you're still trying to be embedded with this reflection is really truly showing you you have not come to the true knowledge of that fact. Because should you come to the true knowledge of that fact, you would eradicate the problem. You would get rid of that person. You would no longer participate in the behavior. And that's the thing that they make sure you do not see. Because once you do see it, once you do realize it, they will fall away. And this even applies for the physical abuser. Because the physical abuser, should you walk into your own power, should you say to yourself, I am loyal, I am not doing anything wrong, I'm a good girlfriend, I'm a great person, and you actually know it, the three things and measures that you would do is tell other people what you're going through, stop the behavior, call 911. Let them deal with the repercussions. Let them deal with the consequences of their abuse. And once you do that, yes, they may have to go to, jail, or they may have to go to rehab, or they may have to go get help. But realistically, you are not there. You're not the enemy anymore. They are. Because now that you've eradicated yourself, taken yourself out of the equation, they are left with themselves. They are left holding the bag, realizing that they're an abuser. And the reason why they're abusing you is because most likely they're the cheater. They're the non-loyal one. They are the one who's a bad person. And they don't want to face that, so they deflect it on you. I'm using the examples I had in my life just to give you can pinpoint and pluck in and put in whatever they say negatory to you, and realize that it doesn't matter what those terms are. It doesn't matter what it is that they're saying. They are usually pivotal things that you hold dear to you. Now, the last one I said that was kind of interesting is the child one, because I've seen grown adult parents deal with young children that do this, middle-aged children, teenage children, to adult children that do this to their own parents. Now, what happens in this is that unlike, they will use negatory things, and this is more of the mental emotional abuse, because they will use things that you did wrong in your parenting style that you may have felt bad about. And you, as a person who wants to be a good parent, have a conscience and you're like, yes, I did fall down these times. Now, if you've never forgiven yourself and you've harbored that pain inside, that's the internal. So what the child is doing, in a sense, is teaching you how to be a good parent. And hear me out. Because let's say, for example, you're walking on eggshells because of your child. Your child may say that in, let's say, heated moments, you have laid a hand on your kid, or you have, not paid the rent at times when you were going through troubles in your marriage, or as a single parent, you might have had to move the child to different schools. That child will then take that and know that those were things that you failed with. They know that you feel that failure or what that may have done. And they use that guilt to shape you into this eggshell walker for their benefit. Because again, like I said, I don't like to put kids as abusers, but they're human beings just the same. And the thing is that if you truly believe that you're a good parent, you would know that they are teaching you how to be a good parent. And this is how. Because if you're walking on eggshells, like you're pacifying them, you're not trying to get them angry. You're giving them things just to pacify their situations, their upheavals, their tantrums, things of that nature. You're actually not being the model and the representation of what a person should be doing. So when you take that step back and start walking on eggshells, you're actually becoming the thing that you're most scared of being, which is the bad parent. So it's an oxymoron. The walking on eggshells is your inner self saying, no, you should reprimand them. No, you should yell at them. No, you should, take away their toys or take away these things. And the funny thing is, there were some of the kids that I saw in these relationships with my friends that they would literally threaten to call CAS or child services on their parents. And almost all of them would get, oh my gosh, no, don't call child services. Don't do that. But really, if you are a good parent and you know you're a good parent, that's the knowledge part. You should then trump them, okay? And say, go ahead, call CAS, go ahead, do what you got to do. Because realistically, you won't be living with me or your dad or your grandma or your brothers and sisters or whoever else. If that's what you feel you need to do, go ahead and do it. And I guarantee that whatever they've been trying to manipulate you with guilt-wise will fall away, because that child will realize, or that teenager will realize, or that adult will realize they don't have a hold on you anymore. You're actually standing firm as a representation of what it is to be a proper parent, because a proper parent has to showcase and model the example. And if you're constantly walking on eggshells for the child, whatever age they may be, you're not showing them that representation. So they never get to face what it is that they are and what they're doing. And once you take that power back and say, hey, I'm not going to take this anymore, go ahead and do what you got to do, throw whatever, you're actually forgiving yourself and recognizing the true knowledge that you are a good parent. When you're walking on eggshells, you're in denial that you are a good parent. So therefore, you're not a good parent. You're actually avoiding being the good parent because you're so scared of what the child may do, how they'll react. But really and truly, you are the parent. You have to teach them how it is. You need to teach them what is the real representation and be the model. So when you're curbing your own self-worth for your child's sake, you're actually not showing them that representation. So again, it's an oxymoron. If you really believed that you are a good parent, then you would act accordingly. And I don't want to get into all this because I know there's a lot of parents out there that'll be like, oh no, blah, blah, blah. But what I'm trying to say is that I have seen this in some of my friends' situations with their adult children even. And they live in this place of eggshells for, from what I've seen, sometimes decades. We can live in this place as long as we allow it. And here's the next part I want to talk about. So after you may have gotten out of the situation, you find that self-worth, you call it all back. What you may then do is live in victimhood for some time. or for again, whatever period of time it is, you say, oh, they put me in this. Oh, they did this to me. They said mean things. They tortured me. They traumatized me. They hit me. They this, they that. But we never take the responsibility back to us, saying, no, we allowed it. We allowed it. We allowed the behavior. We allowed those things to happen. And the reason why it takes that next step to get to that place is because this is the big forgiving. This is the big coming to Jesus moment, put it that way, with yourself. Because when you take responsibility for what you do, when you take responsibility for what role you played in this reflective, internal, external drama, you start to realize that you had just as much possibility to eradicate it. You had just as much power to not be in that situation. And that's a place a lot of people don't want to be because they have a lot of hurt and pain and suffering that they went through when they were in it. So it's easier to deflect again and point the fingers and deflect again. But realistically, when I suffered and got out, I did it too. And as I've had 5 years, a decade to reevaluate everything, was what I realized and had to come to terms with was that I was the one allowing it. Had I really believed in myself, had I really thought that I was this person, I would never have walked into this. Because when I was with that partner that was, laying hands on me, the reason why I was so up in arms was because they were calling me names, saying that I was loose, that I was this, but I valued my body. That's what I thought when I was defending myself. But had I really loved my body, I wouldn't have been getting abused. Had I really loved my body, I wouldn't have been with someone like that. The same happened when I was with my other partner. Had I thought that I was a good homemaker, a good wife, a good this, a good that, I wouldn't have ever allowed the person to sequester me into that corner, to allow me to believe that that was what was taking place. I chose him. I allowed him. And you and everyone else has to take that responsibility, and that's the next level. And when we do that, we know we've closed the whole cycle. There are no, weak points. There are no leaks. There are no patches, because you realize that once you take full control and once you realize where your place was, and you have confidence that you will never choose someone like this again. Now, some of you will look at me and be like, well, it's my family. I got family members. Same applies. Yes, we cannot choose who our family is. As we get older, as we realize that we're being put into eggshell situations with, let's say, a certain aunt or a certain uncle or a mom or a dad, you didn't choose them, but as you get older and you recognize your self-worth, you can excommunicate them. You can try not to see them at certain events. You can not reach out to them. You can not be in their life. Because when you love yourself, you don't want to be with people that don't like you. And that is a fact. The people that are doing this, you do not like you as who you are for your whole self, right? And if you do love yourself, how do you have room for people that don't love you? You want to make room and space for those that do love you. So regardless if they're your family, regardless if they're a sibling, regardless of who they are, I don't care who. If you love you, you'll know what to do. You will find and cultivate and shape the world that you see fit, that you find love in, that people all around you love you for everything that you are. And when you get to that place is when you can actually make moves in a soul nature, because no one will hold you anymore. No one has that power. You do. And that's why if you're supposed to go on a spiritual mission or do a certain work for the Lord or whatever the case may be, if people are still pulling the strings and controlling you in your life, how are you ever going to have the gumption, the courage, the effect that you need to do that bigger purpose? Because you have to take those baby steps. You have to fight and get rid of all the traumas, all the triggers, all the things that hold you back from being your best you. Because when you're your best you, then you can do your best work. And then you can try to shed light on other things. And then you can try to go after the bigger fish. You know what I mean? So why I wanted to talk about this, and I probably will talk about other traumas and situations, because in my life I've gone through many from A to Z. And what I can honestly say is, like, sure, I haven't been through every single thing, but I know that the only way I ever got connected with my higher self was when I tackled so many of these. When I was younger and I had some abilities, I hadn't even gone through half of these traumas I just mentioned. And I was like I'd been through some, I'd been through a fraction of them, but it was through more of these, let's just say narcissists, where that's another one I talk about sometimes because they're great teachers. But some of these people aren't narcissists. Some of these people just don't like themselves so much, and something about you triggers them and they just don't like you. There's just something about you that just gets them to react the way they do when you're around. And coming to terms with that and realizing that you don't have to be there, this isn't your place, this isn't your cross to bear, is a very good place to be. Some of us have even gone through it with spiritual persons. And I'll let you understand what that means. There are spiritual workers out there, let's say they could be priests, they could be pastors, that literally will make you feel like you don't have enough faith. Churches where people lay hands and they say, oh, if you've got faith, you'll be healed. And like, let's say, for example, you don't get healed, right? They're basically telling you that you lack faith. And they're targeting your self-worth in the world of faith. And they make you question your ability to have faith in God. These persons are there too. They exist in many different levels in many different ways. What you should do in those cases is realize your connection to God is unique. Your connection to God is sacred. Your connection is not through someone else. That person has no way and shape and form to heal you any more than you do. You can ask God to heal you yourself. And that's true faith in God. Having a third party is not true faith in God. So what I'm trying to say is that these people can make us walk on eggshells as long as we allow them to. They can make you feel that you're not pious enough, that you don't have enough knowledge, you don't meditate enough, you don't do enough. Well, you want to know something? Because if they are truly picking on you as a spiritual leader, it's because something about you contradicts them. Maybe because you didn't get healed, you make them look weak. And that's why they pick on you and tell you that you have no faith. Or maybe you're better at reciting scripture and they feel weak in your presence. So they pick on you because you make them feel small. You never know why the person that's doing this to you, the abuser of any form, is doing it to you until you really sit back. But I'm saying all realms of existence, all places that we interact in have these people that will be the reflections in your life to teach you these spiritual lessons to help you find your greatness. Because you're enough. I'm enough. We're all enough. We just have to figure that out for ourselves. So I hope this helped. If you have any questions about this, feel free to message me. I've been through a lot. This is just a succinct example. But these things, the shadow work, these accomplishments of the self, are how we get closer and stronger and bonded to our higher self, to our all self, to our oversoul, to God. Have a good one, guys. Love you lots.